On November 2nd, 2010, there were 690 Democratic House and Senate members across the country, incumbents, that were defeated in the tidal wave of 2010. There were only 10 incumbent Republicans that were defeated across the country, and one of those was right here in Montgomery, Alabama. We had a young man. He is now the Democratic whip of the House in his very first term. And I wanted to show you that the young face of the Democratic Party is still very much alive and well in the face of the great-grandson of the great Senator Lister Hill in the embodiment of Representative Joe Hubbard, the whip of the Democrats in the House.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, I do not deserve those comments, but I do appreciate them. It does concern me that he says that this is the face of the future of the party. You know, if my mother could have known that, I think she would have told me to take a little bit better care of it in my younger years. I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, for all that you've done. I want to thank the members of this committee, and just want to tell you all that I would not be here today if it were not for many of you in this room. Mr. Chairman was very, very supportive of me. And everybody says that when people get in positions of authority, they stop answering the phone, they stop returning their calls. Well, Mr. Chairman, you were not one of those for me, and I called you often, and you returned them often. Thank you. I just want to tell you all a little bit about myself. I am, as the chairman said, I'm the great-grandson of Senator Lister Hill. That is my history, and that is my heritage. And that is what makes me a Democrat. I get a lot of talk, and, you know, Patricia, I saw you back there. Folks give me a hard time in the House because, you know, even when I was running, I'll tell you this, I had people come up to me, and people who had known me for years said, you know, Joe, I'm going to vote for you, even though you are a Republican, is what they say. And I'd say, wait a minute. I'm not a Republican. I'm a Democrat. They say, oh, but you look like a Republican. What does that mean? I don't know. And Patricia, I get that a lot in the House. They say, oh, come on, you know, you fit right in. And I say, actually, no, that's not the case. But I am a Democrat by history and heritage, and my great-grandfather always said that public service is the highest calling. And in fact, it's a lot like the ministry. And he had a brother who was a priest, and so he knew a lot about that. He lived out that calling in ways that I think we can all be proud of here in the state of Alabama. And that's something that I intend to do. It's something that I pledged to do when I started out this campaign. But I want to talk to you all about why I think in this race here in Montgomery, Alabama, that a Democrat could have won a seat that had been held by a Republican for almost 30 years. And that is almost 30 years. And the reason I ran is that, you know, that was almost 30 years too long. I'm going to tell you, it was not because of our base turnout. Now, we did a lot of work to get the base out as best we could, but, you know, the numbers were off this year in my district as well as in many districts around the state. And that's something we struggled with. I'm going to tell you that the reason we were able to pull this election off was because of hard work. And many of you in this room were a part of that work, and I thank you for that. My great-grandfather used to have a saying, and I think he adapted it from a biblical saying. He used to say, work conquers all. And that's true. I'm living proof of that, friends. We got out there, we rolled up our sleeves, we hit the pavement, and we knocked doors, and we met people, we shook hands, and we kissed babies. I think we kissed a few of those. But we did the work that it takes to win a campaign. And in doing that, we did something else. We put a personal face on an election. I'm going to tell you something today that may surprise you. Sometimes a party isn't enough to win an election. Okay? And so what we must do, I think, when we go forward from today, we must realize that when we put candidates out there, we got to put candidates out there that are willing to step out on their own two legs with the support of this party and the great support of this party and say, I am the candidate. And here is why I can be your representative. Or here's why I can be your county commissioner or whatever the case may be. Put a face on that campaign. And that's something we did. Folks in this community, they didn't see me as Joe Hubbard, the Democratic nominee for House District 73. They saw me as Joe Hubbard, their friend and their neighbor. They saw me as Joe Hubbard, the fellow they see in church every Sunday. They saw me as Joe Hubbard, the fellow buying diapers in the grocery store. And what that did, friends, is it put a personal face on a political election. And that's very important because a lot of times, and I'm telling y'all something that y'all already know, a lot of times when folks in our state think about partisan politics, they think about what they see on Fox News or someone here on a talk radio program. I can tell you something. They didn't see me on Fox News. They saw me in church. They saw me in the grocery store. That's what we got to remember, friends. These elections are local and they're personal. And we keep them that way. We're going to keep seeing progress and we're going to keep bringing these races back home to our party. And I just want to thank you all for everything that y'all have done for me as a party, for the support you've given me. Going forward, we've got to build from the ground up. We got to start by recruiting friends and neighbors in our communities, people that we know who have a heart to serve. And we bring them in and we say, you know, you believe that, and I'm going to borrow a phrase, Dr. Reed, you believe that what our charge is in political races is to put good people in positions of authority to do good for the people of this state and this country. And that is what our charge is as a party. Now, those good people out there, they're your family, they're your friends, they're your neighbors, they go to church with you. Bring them in, recruit them, and tell them why we need them in positions of leadership. And I'm going to leave you with something my great-grandfather used to say. He used to say, boys, get on your feet, because they'll kick you when you're down. Okay? I want y'all to just let that sink in for a minute. As we leave here today, let that ring in your ears. We've got to get on our feet because they're going to kick us when we're down.